There are only 24 hours in a day, and there's only one you. That's it. Yet a lot of people try to cram in 25 hours worth of activity into a 24-hour day. And when they do that, they are setting themselves up to switch tasks. You can't get it done. You have an unrealistic expectation.
Welcome to Tip Top Grow Up Your Business with Metronomics. Join me, Shannon Byrne Susko, and Metronomics certified coach, Jed Roberts.
We'll be talking to business thought leaders, entrepreneurs, CEOs, and business team coaches who have all taken the journey to grow up their businesses to their tip top.
We'll be sharing strategies, systems, stories on how you can grow your company up at the speed you want.
If you're searching for your path to the tip top and feel your time is running out, then this podcast is for you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Shannon Susko, and welcome to Tip Top Grow Your Business with Metronomics. This is where high-growth CEOs, leaders, and coaches come to sharpen their edge, not by doing more, but by getting focused on what truly matters. And today, we're busting one of the biggest myths in leadership, multitasking. My guest, Dave Crenshaw, who I'm really excited that you're here and we get to talk about this, has helped millions of professionals worldwide escape chaos, find rhythm, very near and dear to my heart, and unlock focus. He's a best-selling author of The Myth of Multitasking and the Power of Having Fun. 2 books have changed how leaders think about productivity and freedom. Another one of my favorite words. I'm thrilled to share this. Dave will be joining us live on stage at Tip Top Growth Summit in Toronto in October in 2026. So you'll get to experience not only his energy and insights today, but I'm really excited for you to get the opportunity to meet him, see him live, and hear it firsthand. So grab a coffee, silence your notifications, and let's dive in. So Dave, let's start with a truth bomb. Why is multitasking the worst compliment a leader can give themselves?
Well, the first reason is if someone thinks they're great at it, they're statistically the worst at it. So if you're complimenting yourself and saying, I'm a great multitasker, you're probably just absolutely miserable at it and it's costing you a lot of time. And then the second problem along with that is that the word is misleading. I prefer to use 2 different terms instead, and we can get into those. But what is most often happening is switch tasking, meaning you think you're doing multiple things at the same time, but you're really switching back and forth. You're not in a meeting with your employees and answering an email. You're ignoring your employees and then answering the email and then ignoring the email. And you have to switch every single time. So when you think you're getting more done that way, you're getting far, far less.
Now, I need to ask you this. So I love that, switch tasking, because that's truly what we're doing. How did you get in and go deep on this topic? Where did it all come from?
Yeah. So first of all, my background, most of the time when you listen to a time management expert, they are someone who is naturally inherently organized and in control of their time. I am the opposite. I was diagnosed as, and this is word for word, freaking off the charts ADHD.
Oh, wow.
And so I already had that natural tendency to create chaos in the way that I dealt with everything I had to do. On top of that, I really began my career coaching entrepreneurs, coaching business owners. And as a group, they're absolutely addicted to switch tasking, whether or not they have the genetic predisposition of ADHD.
Yes.
A lot of that is because of how many different hats they're wearing in their day, all the different job responsibilities. So when you're the marketing manager, the HR director, the sales manager, you're, the janitor, you list it. When you're doing all those things, you're switching constantly back and forth. So for me, addressing this issue was not only a matter of survival for myself, but it was for my clients and helping them get in control of the chaos they were experiencing every day.
So you've coached, business owners, CEOs, leaders. What's the number one time trap that keeps high performers stuck?
Well, I mean, certainly that switching of tasks is huge because the cost is roughly 1/4 of their time. meaning everything that you're doing is taking essentially an extra work week's worth of time every single month. So when you do that, that's extremely costly. The other problem is that most people aren't focused on what I call their MVAs. And your MVAs are your most valuable activities.
Right.
If you have 10 different job descriptions, you're a CEO, you're a business leader, only one or two of those is worth the most per hour. When you spend your time doing less valuable work, you are driving down the value of your business. It's just math. If you could be doing $1,000 an hour work, $2,000 an hour work, but you're instead doing $20 an hour work, picking up supplies at Office Depot, you are making your business worth less. And it's such a paradox that so many leaders experience because they feel highly capable. They feel like they're the best person at everything. And you know what? Sometimes they're right, but that doesn't mean that you should be doing everything.
Right.
You have to delegate. You have to get those lower value activities off of your plate in order to increase the value of your business.
Now, let's go back because I think you said something really, really important. You said it as a matter of fact, but I think it's something that we should really highlight is the amount of time when we switch that we lose. I would say most leaders are doing this, and we're doing it to survive. And the time that you just said is we're losing a week a month.
Yes.
Right? I heard that right? A week a month. I was just going to say, like, so if I go a week a month, right? A quarter a year, right? Like the time is that's all we have. Time is our scarcest resource. So how do we ensure we're working on the most valuable things? How do we get there?
Yeah. Well, and it's important to keep in mind too, that if you have employees, if you have payroll, it's not just you that's losing that, it's them, which means that take whatever number that you got in your head for the payroll that you're paying other people. 1/4 of that is garbage. And I'm not talking about people wasting time, talking about what happened on The Bachelor last night. I'm talking about what's happening in the seams as people switch, because there's not just the switch in attention, there's the cost that you have to pay to get your attention back to it. For example, you're responding to an email, someone interrupts you, you answer the question, but now you have to divert your attention back to whatever it was you were working on. You have to reread the email. You have to get back in rhythm and then start it again. And every single person that's working for you is experiencing that. The beautiful thing is we can implement a lot of changes. And at that Tip Top event in 2026, I'm going to get into specific tactics that people can do to reduce the amount of switches that are taking place. And in a very real way, a lot of my clients will gain back an entire work week's worth of time every single month, which is so valuable to the business. And if they teach it to their employees, that radically increases everyone's productivity, all while making them less stressed and feel happier about what they're doing.
Yes. And so when we talk about the tactics and the systems, just to give a taste to the audience, because thinking about time, and time is our scarcest resource, and not only like one leader, but the whole team, if we're all doing this. And I love how you relate it back to just like a payroll. Payroll is our largest cost normally in a business.
Yes.
So if we put that all, can you just talk a little about maybe the system, the tactic? What's the antidote to, the chaos of losing a week a month? Because that's chaotic, right? What do we do about that?
Well, we start by looking at what are the switches that are taking place in their day. Are we getting interrupted by people in person? Are we getting text messages? Are we interrupting ourselves with our thoughts? I'll share one thing that a manufacturing company that I worked with implemented, and they said it increased their productivity across the board by 20%. And that is simply dealing with what I call the dreaded double Q, right? We'll be in the middle of something and someone will interrupt, they'll knock on the door and they'll say, "I'm sorry, I've got just a quick question," right? It's just a quick question.
Double Q, I love it.
Yeah, it's the dreaded double Q, because that double Q costs you far more than what the question is itself.
Yeah.
So one of the ways to reduce how many of those take place is you look at the people that are interrupting you the most during the day. or that you're interrupting the most during the day, because honestly, leaders
Yes.
tend to be more guilty of this than their subordinates.
Yes.
And we say, okay, how often do we really need to connect? Is
Yeah.
it once a day? Is it once a week? Whatever it is, how often are we interrupting each other? And then create a scheduled time to just have a quick meeting. I like the word huddle. I'm a football fan. So it's a
Yeah.
quick huddle, right? And you say, all right, during this time, this is when we're going to stage up all of those double Qs, and we're going to focus on each other
Yes.
and answer them. And now, rather than losing an hour in your day due to the back and forth switching,
Right.
you're now taking 15 minutes to sit down, focus with someone, and give them your full attention. And both of you are going to feel better about it. And you address the issues in a timely manner. Often businesses are addicted to what I call the culture of now. And the culture of now says, every question I have, it needs to be answered now.
Yeah.
And no matter what it is, I need to answer it now. But most of the things that you experience in business are not emergencies. They're just impatiencies. So you want to switch to the culture of when and say, I am going to respond to every quick question, every email. This is when I'm going to do it. And then we start shifting
Love
everyone's
that.
mindset to that when rather than now.
Yeah. And within the Metronomics framework, and we picked it up from the Rockefeller Habits framework a long time ago, which is the huddle, right? And you can create the habit. The huddle's a team habit that you get everyone in, everyone committed. But the key thing is to what you talk about in that huddle, what you are
Yes.
going to solve in that huddle makes it the most useful. And I don't know if you know this from my original story, but in my first company, when we were figuring out the system and the Metronomics system, in order to save time, of course, the huddle was put in place. We tried many different agendas until we got one that really we felt worked, that saved us time. And my own story is going from 100-hour weeks as a young CEO founder, taking 40 hours out of my work week, 40 hours every week, the huddle. So I love that. And I love that you start there. I love that we think about that. Many people think like, oh, more meetings, but it just saves you time overall for less meetings. And
Yeah.
I love you double Q, because that's the thing. Double Qs were coming in emails for me. They're coming in I sat, out in the open. I wasn't in an office. And so double Qs are happening all day long. And I was ending up doing my work at night in the dark by myself, the stuff that I needed to get done. And it would, I love the double Qs, right? Because those are the things that are going to take the time away and give you that hiccups or increase the time that you don't have actually for those
Yeah.
double Qs.
You brought up too that number of 100 hours a week,
Yeah.
which is so, I know that for you at the time, that was just overwhelming and exhausting,
Yeah,
and you don't do the
unbelievable.
kind of work you need to do. And, Shannon, the more I've done this, I've come from the perspective that anyone working more than 60 hours a week just simply doesn't know how to manage their time. There's no
No.
job that should require that. And
No.
the beautiful thing is, most of my clients, the more that I've worked with them, just get that number lower and lower and lower. I think in particular of one woman that I worked with who owned a multiple location business. And when we started, she was in that 60 to 70 spot.
Yes.
And it took some time. But as we developed systems, as we got her way of dealing with things better and better, she went from 60 to 40 to 30 to 20
Yeah.
to 10 to full exit.
Yes.
And that comes from gradually building the systems and delegating to people and creating the processes that free you from having to do everyone else's work, where only you spend your time on your most valuable activities.
Yeah. I do love that. It's where Metronomics came from that particular time of working 100-hour weeks, a 26-year-old founder, CEO, great opportunity, trying to figure it out. And the simple huddles started it all, started the curiosity of the systems. When you go in and work with a leader, like the leader you just described, what are some of the things that you're auditing or thinking about or looking for to give some awareness to the leaders who are listening in today, because I knew I was working way too many hours. My whole goal was this is not sustainable, nor fun, nor balanced, nor why I lived in Whistler, British Columbia. I wanted to ski more, and all I was doing is spending more time. As we grew the business, I was spending more time in the business, not sustainable nor scalable. So what are some of the things you look for? What are some of the things, our listeners should be thinking about?
So I'll start by, this is kind of a joke, but it's also really true. I tell people that I get paid lots of money to tell them the truth of time. And the truth of time is two things. There are only 24 hours in a day, and there's only one you. That's it. Yet a lot of people try to cram in 25 hours worth of activity into a 24-hour day. And when they do that, they are setting themselves up to switch task. You can't get it done. You have an unrealistic expectation. And just like if you're trying to grow your business and you overspend, you go into debt. Well, if you go into debt with time, you have to repay that with a lot of interest. So that overextending yourself costs far, far more than living within your means and only getting 24 hours of activity, or even better, 23 hours of activity into that 24-hour a day. So there's breathing room. So one of the first things that I do is I'll sit down with that person and we look at the number 168. 168 is how many hours there are in a week. And we create a chart of how they're estimating they're spending their time in that 168 hours. And almost always when people estimate how long they think they're doing each of those things, it ends up in the neighborhood of 180 to 190 hours.
Oh my
so
gosh,
everybody has
hilarious.
This unrealistic expectation for themselves. And so what we have to do is go, all right, let's rebuild this. Now that we know what it has to be, now create a new time budget. And let's use that budget as a template, not your actual calendar, but a calendar that we put side by side or over the top of your calendar that says, when we're scheduling that 168 hours, where are we scheduling everything? And the moment we get back into reality, and that reality that there's only one you in that timeline, then things start to get a whole lot better. And I'll say this too. Here's another tip. They start saying no a whole lot more often than they used to say.
Yes. And, when you're talking about time, because one of the things that, going from those 100-hour weeks and getting it to 60 to 40 to 20, my whole goal was to, as a leader, to build an organization that would grow without me, right? That was my goal. Build an organization that would grow without me. And the only way I could do that is to get out of working in the business and be working on the business. Just by looking at myself and my own leaders with my coach of the time. And we were looking at what percentage of time were we spending on execution, what percentage of time were we spending on strategy, what percentage of time were we spending on coaching our team, and what percentage of time were we spending on our own learning and professional development. And when I work with teams today, we do this almost every other quarter. We're always checking in on where we're spending our time, because our whole goal is we know we can grow a business if we get the leaders out of working in the business and getting them on the business. And, I was listening to your story of the female leader going from 70 hours to 60 to 40 to 20 to 10 to 0. What were some of the things that, she experienced in that? And I know, I think of it, and I know one of the words you use often is freedom. I know you use fun, all of that. And I think about that balance. Give me maybe some of, and the listeners' experience of when the leader's going through that. What are some of the things that are real? Because sometimes they're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not working enough.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm not spending enough time. I'm not doing enough, Instead, they're leading by being a great example of being focused.
Yeah. There's so many places I could start with this, but what's coming to mind right now is actually a book that we haven't mentioned yet, which is The Focused Business.
Yes.
And that book is based on my years in the trenches of working with entrepreneurs. And I do something kind of fun with it where I equate some very real world phenomenon that they experience with supervillains. They're the
Yes.
hero. They're doing battle with the supervillains, and the supervillains exist because they want to stop people from doing something that's good. And entrepreneurship is inherently a good and noble endeavor. You create jobs, you make the world a better place, you improve your community. The list is just on and on.
Yeah.
One of the villains that's trying to stop that is, I call him Jack of all trades. And
Yes.
Jack of all trades is the one that whispers to you, Shannon, you mentioned that you were working late at night, and
Yeah.
that he whispers in your ear the phrase. Every villain has to have a catchphrase,
Yes.
right? So his is, no one can do it as well as you can, right? And the
Yes.
entrepreneur, the business leader hears that and agrees with it. And like I said earlier, it's kind of true. But in this case, the truth doesn't set you free. The truth shackles you to your business.
Yes.
Because now you're thinking, by the time I could have taught someone else, finish the sentence, I could have done it myself, right?
Yes.
And so you get into that pattern over and over and over of not teaching it to someone else. And what we want to do, like you mentioned, Shannon, which is so brilliant, you wanted to build the business so it worked without you having to be there. We have to accept the fact that even if I'm the best one at this, I'm probably not the person who should be doing this. I probably should
Yeah.
teach someone else to do this. So that working on the business that you mentioned, so much of it is about training and development. And
Yes.
we can even kind of nest this. This is getting really meta here, but we're saying maybe you're not even the right one to train people.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to
for
hire a
sure.
trainer. We need to
Yes.
oversee what's happening. We need to make sure they're teaching the right things, but we can delegate the training. We can delegate the leadership. And that's one little thing that I've learned through the years, because I love that phrase, work on your business and not in it. And it's true. But sometimes you don't even have to work on your business.
No.
Sometimes you just need to delegate the working on the business to someone else, because there are
Yes.
lots of brilliant business growth experts out there. There are lots of wonderful managers out there who can improve your processes if you just delegated it to them and gave them the power to do it.
Yeah. So, interesting. This is maybe on topic, but off topic. But the word delegate, when I was a young CEO, was a word that my coach used often. Right. But you just clarified your understanding of delegate, because when I was asked, my coach was like, you're not delegating well enough. Do you know how to delegate? And kept going on about delegate. Did you read those 3 books on delegation? I'm like, I did. I actually reread them. I'm still a bit of a business book geek. So I was like, yeah, for sure. But the thing I learned, and you followed it up with exactly, was ownership. The thing that I learned was we had to empower our team to own it, not delegate it, actually. Because when we delegate it, we still own it and we still feel attached to it. And so I was like, okay, like I did everything, but I still feel like it's not done. I'm still in on it. I still have to, I'm either not, explaining it well enough. But what I didn't do was I didn't empower and give the ownership as that young CEO. I think as CEOs and leaders, we have to empower and give the ownership away in order to really let go. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I learned. The more I let go, the faster we grew. Right? As leaders, the more we let go, the faster you grow. And I'm just curious to know, as I'll go back to the example you had of that leader, spending less and less time. I'm sure, and I am asking this maybe because I want you to explain it more, is like she had to let go. She had to let go. How do you help leaders let go? Because that's a tough one. I'm coaching CEOs too to let go. How do you help them let go?
So this is a little contrarian, but I would not use the word let go. I would instead use the word accountability. Provide accountability. And to me, accountability, sometimes people use it interchangeably with responsibility. Like, I'm going to be an accountable person.
Yeah.
That's responsibility to me.
Yes.
Accountability is a third party following up with you, helping you do a great job. And you provide a wonderful process with that through Metronomics with your coaches, right? And that's what I did as a coach. We provide accountability, a third party that's following up with them and helping them do it. So if it works with coaches and the leader, it works with the leaders and their employee. And the leader needs to shift themselves into the mindset of, I am a coach holding people accountable rather than either side of the spectrum where I completely let go or I'm hovering over them and being a micromanager. There's a beautiful middle spot right there
So
where,
I'm
yeah,
going to take it one step further because
please.
as a young CEO, I didn't want to be the accountability mechanism.
Okay.
And as a coach today, I am not the accountability mechanism. The system is the accountability mechanism and the team behavior. It's a team behavioral accountability mechanism so that I could let go as a CEO and know that the team, if I wasn't going to, if I'm not the one that has to say it. We are accountable to each other as a team, and their peers are going to actually hold each other accountable, just like on a playing field. That's where it came from. That team behavioral accountability, because growing up playing on teams, the coach wasn't going, how come you didn't get that? How come you missed that? No, it was your player beside you going, are you going to get that next time? I will help you. Or do you need help? Or ask for help. Like it was on the field. So that's why I say let go. Like that's why I say we have to let go. We have to trust and verify, but the whole team should trust and verify. Right? That's why having a visible score, we have to trust and verify. That's why I talk that way, because maybe weirdly enough, as a young CEO, my leaders were 10, 15, 20 years older than me. I was like, I'm probably not the accountability mechanism is what I told my coach. And my coach was like, he was a bit, traditional. He's like, you can be. I said, but what if I don't want to be? So that's a little bit of the thinking around that, taking it one step further and creating team accountability. And I just pull it out of sports.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful that you have that philosophy. And part of what I teach people too is the idea that they have to be clear about what that philosophy is.
Yes.
And many leaders have not taken the time to think whether they want to use the terminology let go or they want to use accountability, whatever it is. Are you clear on the approach that you're taking? And you have a very clear approach to it. Most leaders listening to this are trying to maybe hit some numbers. They're trying to, accomplish a few things, but they haven't taken the time to sit down like a coach and say, what do I believe in? What do I teach people? What are our values? And beyond just having the values, are they written? Are they documented? Are we talking about them on a regular basis? And so that's also part of what I'm teaching leaders to do, is as part of that, and that's fine, letting go, whatever you want to call it, as part of that process of delegating, making accountability, is creating the philosophy, creating the vision, creating the values.
I love that.
So that we're referring back to that. And that is the thing that we believe in and use as the beacon, rather than me. Yeah. And I have to motivate everyone and be that beacon to everybody.
Yeah. So I love that, because that's probably one of the key things, is creating the vision, creating the philosophy. And not only that, but then, what we're there to do as coaches is to help them follow through on implementing that philosophy. Right. And then we see the results in the time that's spent on the effort and where they're focused, which is amazing. Now, you work with companies that are scaling fast, right? I work with companies that are scaling fast. What's the leadership behavior that most often breaks as they grow?
So one of the problems that people experience in growth is chaos. And I have a really specific definition of chaos. Chaos is the haphazard allocation of resources to things of variable value. Now, what does that mean? It means that I'm allocating my time, I'm spending money, I'm trying to lead people, I'm doing these things, and sometimes it pays off. Yeah. It's variable value, meaning it's not always bad. But the problem is when you get in that cycle of just kind of throwing things all over the place, when it pays off sometimes, you think, this is good, and I'm going to keep acting this way. And it's the same principle as compulsive gambling. You keep pulling that lever because sometimes it pays off. And when it pays off, it's a beautiful feeling. What I try to do is help people shift from chaos to focus. And focus also has a specific definition. It is the strategic allocation of resources toward that which is of most value. So that means I don't spend money, I don't spend time unless I have a high degree of confidence that the time that I'm allocating is going to pay off.
Right.
And
Right.
it's such a subtle difference, but it makes such a
Yes.
huge impact, Shannon, when I stop and I slow down for just a second and say, okay, what is the focused action here
Yeah.
rather than what is the chaotic action? And the
Yeah.
more I can get business owners to slow down and start to assess the value of everything. And that's really the word it comes back to is what's the value of this? Then they start to get more and more clear about where they should be spending their time rather than just firing from the hip at whatever idea comes to their mind in the
Yeah.
moment.
I was hoping you would answer like that because I love just how you related it to a little bit like gambling. Right.
Yes.
And that's what happens. It just keeps going. But let me take it a little step further on focus because I was hoping you'd go there on focus. And there's so much talk today that you can't open anything without, talking about AI and productivity on tech and all that great stuff. What's your opinion? Is it helping us focus or is it just giving us more to juggle?
Yeah, there is so much chaos with AI right now. And part of the problem isn't just us. We're part of it. But part of the problem is the implementation by companies of AI. Sometimes it's a solution in search of a problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's an investment in search of a return, right? We
Yes.
we invested
Yeah.
all this in AI and we have to show that it's good. Therefore, we're going to shoehorn AI into this. Like one of the worst implementations I've seen
Yeah.
recently is YouTube. It like in the middle of the video, it shows me a thing that says what people are talking about that's related to this. And I'm thinking, just let me watch the video, right? There's
Yes.
so much great value
Yes.
here. So there's that side of it. And then there's also our side of it where we're just implementing it for everything. And the reality is what we should do, and there's even some brain science behind this, that we should first make the attempt. We should
Yeah.
first try to solve the problem and then double check our answers with AI rather than doing it the other way around, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times what
Yeah.
we're doing is AI is giving us an answer and we're fact checking it because it's not trustworthy. It really isn't.
Right.
Like,
Right.
think of if you had an employee that if you asked them questions, 30% of the time they confidently gave you the wrong answer.
Yeah.
How long would that person continue
Confidently.
working for
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. Not that long.
Now, if we're just talking about brainstorming and coming up with ideas
Yeah.
and clever ways of wording things, I really see a lot of value on that. But I think
Yeah.
sometimes the order of operation here is backwards when it comes to
Yeah.
AI.
So thank you for answering that. That was actually really great. Where's your focus right now in the work that you're doing? What's your next thing? And we think out a year from now, we'll have already just been on stage together in Toronto with a lot of, high growth leaders in the Metronomics community. What are you thinking about for the next year for 2026? What are you working on?
Yeah. So right now, it's because you asked this about AI, but it really is in relation to that. My attention right now is on the framework that I built 15 years ago around being invaluable. And being
Yeah, love it.
invaluable meaning that you are worth the most that you possibly can be, that you are making the most that you can possibly
Yeah.
make. So really, another way of saying it is the value of your time. That's what I'm focused on right now. And the reason why I'm focused on it is because there's so much chaos in the world right now, right?
Yeah.
People are just like, we're seeing companies just sort of abandoning their decision making and just shooting from the hip with the stuff. And instead, what I want to say is there have been upheavals every 50 years, every
Right.
100 years. This has been going
Yeah.
on for a really long time. It was the internet, and then before that it was computers, and then it was
Yeah.
the industrial revolution, and we keep going back and back. And every time there's been upheaval, there
Yes.
have been people who have thrived and made a lot of money during it. What did they do? What are the universal principles of truth that will always be true and continue to be true even in the age of AI? So right now I'm focused on that and developing a program, possibly even a book
Love it.
that's built around the idea of how we can make the most per hour, per every effort that we put in.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, that's exciting because I know a year from now you'll have a really evolved view. And that's what's fun about doing what you're doing. And you're bringing a framework from 15 years ago and bringing it into today and now with everything that's going on. Now, if a CEO is listening in right now or a leader and they're feeling totally overwhelmed through this conversation because they're now thinking about where they're spending their time, where should they start tomorrow morning?
Well, the first thing is if they haven't yet, they need to register for your event, right?
Nicely done. Yes.
Yeah. But it's true. I mean, because I'm going to talk
Yeah.
to you. I'm going to
Yeah.
help people. I'm going to answer questions. So you need to go to the Tip Top event in 2026. Now, if you're listening to this later or in the meantime,
Yes.
what you should do is follow me on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Great.
Dave Crenshaw. And I'm always posting things there. You can visit my website, davecrenshaw.com. And I've got some free resources for you there. But I'm always creating. I'm always putting stuff out because we talked about your most valuable activities, right?
Yes.
Well, for me, there are two most valuable activities. It's creating and it's delivering. So if I'm thinking about stuff to, like a book or a course or whatever, I'm doing what I should be doing. If I'm sharing it like this in a podcast or on stage, I'm doing what I should be doing. And just on a side note, I tell my team, if I'm not doing those two things, something's wrong. We've got to fix the systems of the business. So please connect with me there. And then if there's still time, please come to the event.
Yeah, I love that. I want you to finish off on this last question because you've said, focus is a skill that can be trained. Do I have that right?
Yeah, it's like a muscle. It can be developed over time. Yeah.
And I agree. I totally agree with that. Like I absolutely agree with that. I think about my own journey of getting better and better and clearer. And we evolve as we have, over, I always say like my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, my 50s. What's a micro habit that you could recommend that they could start this week?
Yeah. And it's really easy to start to notice. And it is, do not switch task on human beings. It's one thing if you want to be inefficient with your time and jump back and forth between email and the thoughts that you have and doing a search on ChatGPT and all that stuff. And you're being inefficient with yourself. But if you multitask or switch task more accurately on a human being, when you're talking to them, you communicate to them that they're not important, that they're not worth your time, not worth your attention. And as leaders too, if we do that repeatedly, guess what? We're modeling the behavior for our employees, and they're going to do it to each other and they're going to do it to their customers. So I'm pulling out my phone here, right? If you got a phone or whatever it is, and someone starts talking to you, you take that thing and you put it away as far away as you can and put it face down. I like to do that just visually when someone, like when my kids start talking, so they know I'm listening to you. And that's the beautiful thing is when you do it with people, the opposite is true. When you focus, you communicate to them that they are important. And that is, it's just so critical. It's such an important skill. And someone listening to this can immediately apply that as soon as they're done
Immediately. Number one is leadership in your team and how we as leaders interact with each other provides example for the rest of the team. And then how our team is going to interact with one another. I love that. Before we wrap, I know, a little bit about, I said, one of the favorite words is freedom, but I know one of your favorite words in around leadership is bringing the fun back into leadership. What's the one fun thing you're doing this week that reminds you why all this focus work matters? How's that for a closer?
Yeah. Well, now you got me excited. So, it's evolved over time. I'm a geek. A nerd. And so for me, for a long time, it's been video games, and it still is from time to time. In the last few years, I am now a track driver and a track instructor. So what that means is I tomorrow I'll be going out with my Porsche and teaching him how to drive a Porsche GT4 on the local track. And I also coach and teach other people. And that's almost more fun for me. The coaching part is more fun. So for me, that's what I do now. And it's thankfully, the career has grown to a place where I have that freedom and that ability to do something like that, which is truly special.
Oh, I love that. Thanks for closing with that. I wasn't sure how much you were going to love that question or not, but I love the answer to that question. That's so fun. I do want to thank you for joining me here today. Thank you for joining us at Tip Top in Toronto in October 2026. It's going to be an incredible event, and I'm excited for your session live. These sessions are there to take action away step by step. What's the one thing that each of us need? It's sort of meeting us where we are today. So I just want to say thank you. I want to give a shout out to Rob Monson for the intro. And
Yes.
we have to give a shout out to Rob for that.
Thank you, Rob.
And I just think everything that you do each and every day is such a huge impact, and it will make such a difference to the leaders who are truly curious about the systems that can make an impact on not only their business, but their lives. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you in Toronto.
Wonderful. Thank you for the invitation, Shannon.
Dave, thank you for joining me. That was packed with practical, grounded advice for every leader chasing growth without burning out. And when we're scaling companies, we definitely know about burnout. I can't wait to see you live on stage at the Tip Top Growth Summit in October 2026 in Toronto. It's going to be an incredible event for CEOs and leaders who want to scale smarter with rhythm and focus and fun. If you're listening right now and want to be part of it, join the waitlist today at metronomics.com/tiptop so you don't miss early access when registration opens. Remember, it's not about more. It's about doing the right things in rhythm with your team. We know all about this at Metronomics, and we're excited to host Dave Crenshaw at our Tip Top Growth Summit. I'm Shannon Susko. Thanks for listening to the Tip Top Grow Your Business with Metronomics podcast. Now, go create focus and have a little fun while you're at it. Take care.